Greetings, friends of liberty. As you can see, I'm again in the TARDIS, going back presently to 1831, when I hope to catch Alexis de Tocqueville in his tour of certain parts of America. Since I'll be quite busy once I arrive looking for him, I just wanted to make this video en route. John McWhorter is a well-known writer and thinker, a liberal who has written many books on race relations and linguistics, among those on race being Winning the Race, Beyond the Crisis in Black America, Losing the Race, Self-Sabotage in Black America, and Authentically Black. Among those on linguistics, he's written The Language Hoax and Word on the Street, debunking the myth of a pure standard English. In his newest book, Woke Racism, How a New Religion Has Betrayed Black America, John analyzes the nature of the wokeness increasingly permeating American society and institutions and offers some remedies and observations. In general, I'd give the book a BB+, well worth reading for many reasons. For its smooth prose style, which renders John's meaning crystal clear and makes understanding a pleasure. For his descriptions of the psychology of the woke, and of many examples showcasing their intolerance. For his, as he calls it, catechism of contradictions, which highlight the absurdities contained in woke ideology. For his often detailed and illustrative use of statistics. For his remedies for improvements in Black America, such as in stopping the drug war, which I, as what you would call nowadays a libertarian, would agree would be a great benefit for us all. And for his promotion of phonics as generally the best method for teaching reading. However, strengths of this book aside, the natural critic within me, the Scarlet Pimpernel, must begin to emerge and point out that John in this book makes two mistakes. First, when we're talking about belief systems, which is what wokeness is, there are actually only three possible types. And we can divide these types up into their respective categories based on two criteria, whether self-deception or faith is primarily used in forming the belief system, and B, whether the subject matter is the secular or the supernatural. These exhaust all logical possibilities. If we then employ these two criteria to create a taxonomy of belief systems, what do we get? A tripartite division. First, we have belief systems such as philosophy and science, if we call that a belief system, that don't use faith and concentrate on the secular. Secondly, we have belief systems such as communism, fascism, extreme environmentalism, and many modern theories of gender that involve pure faith, that is self-deception, but whose subject matter is the secular, not the supernatural. And then thirdly and finally, of course, we have belief systems such as religions that use faith and concentrate on the supernatural. Now, accepting this categorization, let's imagine the following example. Imagine that a zoologist would claim not that cats and dogs are similar, but that they are identical. Would that work in explaining the nature of cats and dogs? Well, it would work sometimes because cats and dogs have lots of similarities. So, for example, the zoologist could say, see, cats and dogs both have claws. See, cats and dogs usually have tails. They both love meat. They both usually have fur. And finally, they both have teeth. But if the zoologist then stopped and concluded cats and dogs are the same, that wouldn't be true, obviously, because despite all their similarities, they are not. So this is the mistake that John makes. He looks at two ideologies that, because their ideologies use faith, in other words, self-deception, and then he concludes that because of this similarity, they're the same. But they're not, and obviously not, since religions always involve a belief in the supernatural, whereas secular ideologies do not. For example, if we turn to the woke, do we find them praying for divine intervention or intercession? Never. Do we find them invoking woke concepts when people are born or die, as the religious do? Baptizing people in the name of Ibram Kendi? Or marrying them while invoking AOC or former President Obama? Never. Do we find them saying that the non-woke would be cast into eternal hellfires? Truly hellfires? Or receive the tender solicitations of 72 virgins when they depart this mortal coil? Never. And why don't we find woke people doing these things? Because wokeness doesn't involve the actual supernatural like a religion, but instead involves the secular, like an ideology, like communism, fascism, extreme environmentalism, and modern gender ideologies that misperceive men as women and women as men. So now, moving from John's first mistake, his error of commission, to his second, that of omission. What John misses, what he crucially fails to point out, is that if we look at the rise of many ideologies throughout history, both secular and religious, what do we find? We find that in many cases, either that they originated by the use of state violence and coercion, or that once voluntarily started, they were maintained by violence. And this is precisely how political correctness has arisen in the United States. What were the specific methods of state coercion in our case? Hard as it is, no doubt, for John, a liberal, to grasp, it is that it has been the governmental influence on American education, both public and private, now expressed for over a century, that has created the ideology of political correctness and wokeness. In addition, the government, through Titles 7 and 9 of the Civil Rights Act, has exerted a follow-on effect of enforcing a behavioral conformity to these racist and sexist governmental mandates which violate the civil liberties of non-blacks and males. If anyone wants to understand in detail exactly how this happened, I would recommend either my 4-part video series, The Actual Cause of Political Correctness, parts 1 through 4, or the shorter 1-video explanation, The Actual Cause of Political Correctness, short version. With this clarification complete, I bid you all well and remain, as ever, the Scarlet Pimpernel.